talk about something nobody really wants to admit out loud. Starting over sounds inspiring until it's actually you. Because when you're 21 and starting over, people call it figuring your life out. When you're older and starting over, people look at you like your GPS has been saying recalculating for 20 years. And honestly, sometimes they're not even wrong. Hard lessons and real wins. Hosted by me, Nick Visoky. All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the channel. Let's discuss starting over when you're not 21 anymore, because it does hit differently. You got more responsibilities, more bills, more pressure, more people silently wondering, what exactly are you doing with your life? And if you got kids, oh good. Now that emotional pressure comes with a soundtrack, because it's not just, can I make this work? But now it's, can I make this work without accidentally turning my family members into unpaid background characters in my identity crisis? Now that's a different level kind of pressure. But here's the part I think people get wrong. Starting over is not always a sign that you failed. Sometimes it means you finally got honest. And those are not the same thing. A lot of people stay stuck in the wrong life because it looks stable from the outside. It looks respectable. It looks mature. It looks like the kind of thing people nod during family gatherings. Meanwhile, on the inside, you're slowly turning into a human smoke detector. That's actually a pattern in my life. I've had chapters where on paper, it looked like I was doing something responsible. And in real life, my nervous system was basically filing a formal complaint. That happened in nursing school. That happened in my businesses. That happened in jobs that made sense logically, but did not fit me spiritually, mentally, or honestly, sometimes even physically. And that's the part people don't talk about enough. Sometimes your life is not falling apart. Sometimes it's rejecting a version of you that was never supposed to last. See, once you're younger, starting over feels kind of socially acceptable. People say things like, oh, he's young, she's still finding herself, they've got time. But once you get older, nobody says that. Now the pressure changes. Now you're supposed to already know, already be settled, already be established, already have that clean little bio, happily climbing the corporate ladder, thriving in a stable career, passionate about synergy, whatever that means. But real life is messier than that. A lot of people do not build their life in a straight line. They pivot, they burn out, they outgrow old goals. They wake up one day and realize, wow, I worked really hard to build something I don't even want anymore. And that realization, that one hurts, because now you're not just grieving the future, you're grieving the effort, the years, the identity, the story you're once telling yourself about where all this was supposed to go. That's what makes starting over so emotional. It's not just the beginning again. It's admitting that the last version is no longer the version. And let me say this too. Starting over does not always look dramatic. Sometimes there's no big movie scenes, there's no music, there's no breakthrough, there's no inspirational quote flying in from the heavens. Sometimes starting over looks like this. You sit in the car a little longer than usual. You stare at your laptop like a person would betrayed you. You walk through Target wondering if it would be irresponsible to disappear into the candle aisle and start a new identity. You keep functioning, but something in you knows this isn't it. That's how it usually starts, quietly. But before the actual change, there's usually a season where the soul starts tapping you on the shoulder. And if you ignore that tap long enough, life upgrades it for you. Sometimes into a burnout, sometimes into a panic, and sometimes into a full engine fire, which in my case was apparently the deluxe package. Now here's the dangerous part. When you know you need to start over, your brain does something very rude. It starts comparing your chapter 12 to somebody else's chapter 3. And suddenly everybody on the internet looks 30 seconds away from becoming a millionaire. Meanwhile, you're sitting there trying to figure out whether your next life move is either brave, stupid, or both. And the answer is usually a little bit of both. That's normal, because starting over is humbling. Nobody likes going from experienced to beginner. Nobody enjoys being that person who has to say, yeah, so that thing I was doing, turns out, not it. But humility is part of the price. And honestly, it might be one of the healthiest part. Because once your ego gets punched in the throat a little, you start asking better questions. Not, how do I look successful? But what actually fits? Not, what impresses people? But what can I sustain? Not, what sounds good when I explain it? But what gives me peace when I'm alone with it? That is a different level of maturity. And most people do not reach it. until life drags them there. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is this: just because you can survive something does not mean you're meant to keep doing it. Yeah, that one took me a while because I used to confuse endurance with alignment. I thought if I could tolerate it, push through it, carry it, manage it, outlast it, then maybe that meant I was supposed to do it. Nope. Sometimes it just means you're strong. And strong people stay in bad situations way too long because they know how to carry weight. And that is not always wisdom. Sometimes that is just delayed honesty. And if you're watching this right now in a season where you know something is off, I want to say this very carefully. You're not weak because the old version of you no longer fits. You're not behind because your path looks different. And you're not failing just because your life does not make sense to people who only understand straight lines. Some of the strongest people I know are in the middle of rebuilding. Now, let me give you something practical because I don't want this channel to just sound nice. If you think you're in the era of starting over, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What is no longer working even if I keep pretending it is? That question will humble you quickly because deep down, you already know. 2. Am I staying because it is right or because I'm afraid to disappoint other people? See, that one hurts too. A lot of people are not trapped by their life. They're trapped by the reactions they're trying to avoid. And 3. If I keep doing this for another 2 years, what does it cost me? And not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, physically. Because the cost of staying is just as real as the risk of changing, and sometimes even more expensive. The truth is, starting over when you're not 21 anymore requires a different kind of courage. Not loud courage, not motivational speaker courage, quiet courage, adult courage, the kind that still pays the bills and tells the truth, the kind that says, this is not working. I need to pivot. I do not know what's next, but I know this version is done. The kind of courage that does not always look impressive, but it is real. And real is what we do here. Because this channel is not about pretending life is clean. It's about learning how to rebuild without losing yourself in the process. So, if you're in that space right now, if your life feels uncertain, messy, humbling, or under construction, good. Not because it's fun, because it means something is moving. And movement matters, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it bruises your pride, even when you wish you had figured it out sooner. You're still allowed to become the right person at the wrong looking time. That still counts. And actually, those are usually the people with the best stories for later. All right, if this hit home, go ahead and drop a comment below and hit the like button. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, because we're not building a channel around perfection here. We're building around truth, discipline, perspective, and long-term wins. And I'll see you at the next one. Thank you for watching. Nick, what are you talking about? I have Google Maps, Apple Maps, all the maps. They don't go recalculating. They just do it. What, you get sucked into the Mandela effect? No, see, that's where you're wrong. Because this little guy right here by the name of Garmin sure can. Let's have a listen.
Recalculating.
Whoa. Hope you got a great deal for this gadget at the antique shop. I know. That's the sound of the 90s we'll never get back. And since we're reminiscing, hey, did you know that dial-up was a real thing? Oh man, don't even get me started.
You got mail.